Welcome. You're watching New Attitude, and I'm your host, Anastasia Rivers. Our show highlights all the positive things that are happening in our community as well as positive people. We want to demonstrate that the Virgin Island has more positive than negative things happening, and I want you to relax and enjoy our show. Welcome. You're watching New Attitude, and I'm your host, Anastasia Rivers. On my left is,
Dean Baptiste, co-host.
on my far right,
Adansky Henry, co-host.
and our guest this evening is
Sandra Harrigan.
Sandra Oliver Harrigan.
Harrigan, yes.
Yes, and Sandra is originally from St. Croix, but she lives in Atlanta now.
Presently, yes.
Atlanta, and she's also an author, so I invited her to be on the show and to talk about her book and up and coming books as well. So welcome, Sandra.
Thank you.
Okay, tell us what got you into writing.
Actually, I'm from a big family. My mother was an only child, and she had 10 of us. 8 brothers I have, and 1 sister, so we're 10. I'm the 5th in the family, so 3 boys ahead of me and 5 boys after me.
Mm.
And growing up in St. Croix has always been fun, and we welcome the opportunity to always do our chores. And one of my brothers, Marvin Williams, excellent writer, he kept asking me, when are you going to write your book? And it's as if, okay, let me do it so he would stop asking me. But in doing it, it was just a welcome and refreshing time, because what I did was simply highlight each sibling and the tasks that they had to do, and some of the things that we did that we know we should not have done, but we did anyway.
Mhm.
And we know that that pretty much was typical of families in the VI, but I wanted to share the togetherness and the beauty of just being a
A
family.
family. Well, I came to the book signing. I think I didn't realize it was so long ago. You remind me, it's 2010.
Yes.
And what was so special about the book is that you wrote about your oldest brother, Larry Oliver. And for anybody that remember Larry Oliver, he was a lieutenant in the BIPD, but he was my sergeant, the favorite sergeant that I had. And you talk about the difference from then on, so it kept me into the book. And what's the name of the book?
Remembering Family, a Crucian Sojourn.
Okay.
And as people within the VI could identify with some of the things that happened with each sibling, and I was able to share the story, because we each had a task to do, and we had to complete that. My mom was just the only one we could depend on, and she really worked hard to make sure that we all did what we were supposed to do,
Imagine a mom raising 10 children.
single-handedly.
Well, ladies' job never finish. But editing the book, when you get the story from your mother,
Yes.
was it difficult to edit? Did you have to take out a lot of stuff? I know she's gonna give you a story that is gonna actually take up everything. How do you edit, take out what you don't think the book is gonna need, or this won't have the book?
It's interesting because the editing was just simply different.
Mm.
Because we remember our mom was just so jovial. You never know that, there was anything wrong with just being this mother, the provider, the caretaker. And so everybody had a task. And we didn't cut out anything really. And when
Okay.
you talk about editing, it was done by one of my brothers, who is also a writer, Marvin was. And
You say was?
yes, because Marvin passed.
Oh, that's okay.
Yes.
Yes. Right.
And it's so interesting because you have to be skilled in editing a book on the phone, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Especially going chapter to chapter,
Right.
you must roll over into the
Did you
other
use the phone
chapter.
texting or,
No,
or
I-
edit talking to you?
Talking back and
oh.
forth. He said, "Would read that paragraph again," and so he made it. He just pushed me to the end because he said, "Okay, you said that already in this verse." I said, "Did? Okay, let me go back and change this." And then he said, "Okay, read that chapter again." So I started to read again, and then he said, "You know what? You're telling a story, not writing a paper." I said, okay. So he said, erase that whole chapter. And that was really, I said, oh, yes, now I can rest. And he said, and I'll wait. I said, I just screamed into a pillow. It's like, I thought we'd have a break, but it was so intense. It seemed as if, too, because he was ill and he was suffering from,
And he knew it.
He knew, and he just wanted to make sure that was one of the things he wanted me to do, finish my book.
But he was to the book signing, wasn't he?
No,
No?
it came out after he passed.
Oh.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to write the book, edit the book, get everything together, and publish it?
It's amazing. Writing a book, it was like maybe 2 months.
Because you had all the facts.
Yeah,
all the
everything was
facts.
just,
You didn't have to
support.
make it up.
No,
It
everything
was
was
there.
just there. And even sometimes, say, he said, well, Sandy, remember when, the masquerades would go down Queen Street, going to line up for the parade, and there would be, all these masks and all this attire, and you and Carl were looking at them, just going to, get ready for the parade, and one of them said, ha! And I took off, and my brother running behind me said, wait for me, wait for me. I said, yes, He said, you traumatized your brother from a young age, but it just, and with a touch of humor. Each person, there was something that we just did that was just humorous. So we included the humor in the telling of our stories. Two of our brothers used to wash cars, and when they had finished washing the cars, the guy said, you didn't do it good enough. So they didn't get paid, so they put mud all over the car and put dash water on it. He said, remember, so in essence, it says remembering, and these are some of the things that we did, when we were growing up.
Well, on a sad note, just to share with them how your mother ended up raising all you by herself.
Yes, and Marvin too had a poem for every sibling. After the chapter, he had a poem, a creative poem. But Larry was responsible for cleaning 10 pounds of fish every Saturday.
Yes, I remember that story.
And I was responsible when it was time for corned beef and rice. Sandy turned to cook because it was gonna be corned beef and rice.
Whenever you cook, it's corned beef and rice. That's all you know to cook.
Until when my sister left and I really had to take on the cooking, everybody at school would be telling about what they're going home to eat. I would be quiet because I had to go home to cook.
It's a part where you talk about them. Somebody was cutting class. Who was
That was your
My boy.
boss, Larry. He would say cold school and hot lunch. He'll go fishing and get back to school for lunch. And we would just share these stories, and my mom would say, my God, you did all of that? How come I didn't know?
it? So all this you were revealing in your book, to write your book.
Yes. So, we sit together, we tell the stories, and then we remember those stories, because my mom was alive at the time when we were talking about some of the stories. And then we would just simply, it was just easy to put it together for each sibling.
No, as a family unit, what was the best point of living with 10 of you in the house? What was the best point of it?
With mother make 11.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting because she would always find time whenever we are together to just talk about some of the things, when my grandmother was this, because our grandmother raised her. My grandmother was, on the mainland at the time. And we would all gather around and listen to the stories because it was just so interesting knowing that, yes, she too had those experiences growing up where, yes, you were obedient, sometimes you were disobedient. And they talk about, in our house, we call the belt the bully. And when we misbehave, and he said, Sandy, go get the bully. Even before I even look, I said, I can't find it. I just thought, where should I get this thing? And they're going to beat me with it? No, I said, I can't find it. But discipline was really, manners. You say, yes, please, thank you. And one of the things that my mom emphasized is just simply being respectful to adults. And I don't know how this gentleman, we call him Cousin Moon, and usually we walk home. We did a lot of walking. And Cousin Moon was on his porch. And I said, if he look at me, I'll say hello. If he doesn't look at me, I just keep going. So he didn't look, so I didn't say anything, and I kept going. And before I got home, there was no telephone. Before I got home, my mother knew that I did not greet him and say good afternoon, cousin
Okay.
Mom.
Like they said, take a
Yeah.
village to raise a child. Can you show the cover of the book?
And this is the book, Remembering Family, A Crucian Sojourn. And when my niece saw the cover, Kimberly said, Auntie Sandy, you know this is a Caribbean house, see the map and the porch.
Oh yes. And those children are your
Yeah,
your
these are my
grandchildren?
grandkids, you know. And I have a son who's a graphic artist, so the picture was taken, and then he just dropped the two kids, you know. And,
Yes.
And they write
So
in
that's
the
your
sand.
mom house?
Yes, right in Wim,
Mm.
9L Wim. So
That's
this
on
is-
the main road, right?
we have to turn off right below. Where is that? You know where Tramburg had his house?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
up the road. That's where she. her
Okay.
house is,
What was
yeah.
the sleeping arrangement?
Oh
the-
man,
the
listen, we had
11?
bunk beds. We had bunk beds, and one of my brothers always slept with my grandmother in Pambush. You know, Ivan slept with my grandmother in Pambush. So, and
Where's Palm Bush?
Pambush is where, across from Bethesda, where the housing is now. You know where the post office was. You know where the marketplace is in Frederickson.
Yeah.
Okay, right across. What are those homes? What you call those homes?
Oh,
Oh, you talking about the tongue house? Where they have the
Yes,
tongue
yes,
house?
those
Okay.
homes.
Okay.
Palm Bush was in that area, you know, and in the evening about this time we would, you know, eat and go and spend the night with my grandmother. But there were always bunk beds, like 3 sets of bunk beds.
And each one slept in its own.
Yeah. I mean, and 2 bedroom was good enough. One for my mom and one for all of us. And Ivan went to my grandmother. So it's always that closeness that was always existing throughout. And we just simply cherish that. I know even going up at school, those guys would say, don't mess with her, she has 8 brothers. You know, but, you know, we were just kind of looking out for each other all the time.
Yes.
I kind of have 2 questions in one. Did you ever see yourself becoming an author before your brother pushed you to write?
Yes, you know, because
Yeah.
sometimes, and even now, there are 2 more books that I plan to write, but there's so many distractions that could happen in the course of a day, a week, a month, and it keeps pushing back the time. So it's like you have to actually carve out that time, undisturbed time. And he always emphasized, everybody has a book. Everybody has a
A
story,
story
to
to
tell.
tell, yes.
You know?
It's just to put it down.
Right, it's just to find that discipline to put it together, so.
So what reviews have you gotten? Like, how have you gotten a lot of good reviews from readers of your book? And
Yeah, I got mostly family and friends came out to support, and they enjoyed reading those stories.
Well, we'll be right back to talk more with Miss Harrigan about her book.
Saturday, July 27, 2019, starting at 2 p.m. It's the first annual Lamonique Various Mixed Scratch Bowling Tournament. It will be at Tropical 10 Pin, the Bowling Center, Bar, Restaurant and Lounge. Great prizes for the top female bowlers. Registration fee, $50. Include t-shirt, light snack, drinks on sale. Register on or before July 17, 2019. Contact Vern or Stacy 340-643-1583 to register or sponsor. Proceeds will benefit the St. Croix Junior Bowlers and New Attitude Parents and Teen Workshop. Cash prizes: first prize $800, second prize $500, third prize $300, fourth prize $100, fifth prize $50. It's the first annual Lamonique Various Scratch Bowling Tournament. It's gonna be on Saturday, July 27, 2019.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, I'm here with my co-host, Dean Baptiste and Adansky Henry, and our guest this evening is Miss Sandra Oliver Harrigan. She's an author of a book called Remembering Family, A Crucian Sojourn. So we're here to talk about a little more about her book, and tell us a little bit about what else. And I was trying to find out how your mom raised 10 of you by yourself. How did that come about?
Okay, in addition to that, I must add that I was the 5th child in the family, and because I was the 5th, my father was a fisherman, and 2 or 3 of his friends who had gone out fishing that May of 1951. They were warned against going, but they went anyway, and they never returned. And as a result, I was born like 2 months after he died. So I never knew my father, but I included a father chapter, just imagining what it would have been like to have a father. And I found that I was drawn to, there was a commercial one time where this dad was dressed in something and was just dancing with his girl, you know. I said, look at that. I never had that experience, but I enjoyed looking at it.
Dancing with his father.
Yeah, it was a commercial, yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and he was doing his stuff with her, you know. So I said, look at that. And so my mom, you know, really was strong enough to carry on. So we have 5 siblings. I have 5 siblings, or 4, including myself, 5 Olivers. And my younger brothers are Williams. And their father didn't, you know, he was there but not there.
Yes,
So
we know that.
right, but my mom was strong enough, and she had some key friends, 2 good friends, Evelyn Dyer and I think Belinda.
And that's in the book.
Yeah, and then she worked at Western News with Polly Joseph.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you wonder, well, how did she manage? Well, as a result of working all those years with Polly Joseph, he was able to give her a piece of land. And that's how we were able to get our own home in Estate Wim. And after Polly Joe, the newspaper closed up and folded up, then she was working at Queen Louise Home for Children.
Okay. So, what would you share with people right now, the value of raising alone with your mom and how you all turn out? What would you share that make you all be successful or not getting any problems?
One of the things, my mom went as far as 8th grade, and she stopped school to help her grandmother. And that was a great grandmother that my brother slept by all the time. But she always encouraged us to go to school and to study. And that's why she was surprised when she heard Larry was cutting classes. But we made it. I mean, we were just diligent. One would be tutoring the other. And sometimes, you know, one brother would just say, I just told you this math problem, you know, you ain't listening. You know, so, I mean, they were doing their own thing too. But she said, oh gosh, have a little patience with him, you know, don't hit him, he's gonna get it. And she was just always encouraging us to do things. So
you had that family unit,
right,
everybody together.
Everybody together, always helping out. Yeah.
And you go ahead.
It's one thing about the older folks in the olden days. They will drop out of school to make sure that their family, you know, is eating well and everything is going, but they want to make sure that they're raising finish school.
Yes.
So you know,
You know, they don't want you to go through the hardship they went through.
Exactly.
So they will make sure that you do not drop out of school. You go all the way, and that's a good thing about them. I will drop out and I struggle, but my children have to go all the way, and that's a good thing about those. I mean, you know, now is not a good time to drop out of school, because you drop out of school now, you're going to be struggling for a long
For the rest
time.
of your life.
You know.
And if you ain't got a
Yeah.
paper these
Yeah.
days, you got to have them
Right.
paper.
Yeah.
There was such a
documents.
high value that it placed on education, because they realized that the education would give you a better job and all that stuff. But we know the times things have changed, because we have people graduating with doctorate and they're just not even in the field that they're graduating in. But that was her concern. I didn't make it, but every one of you will make it. And you know, you have doctors, you have secretary, you have policemen. We could have our own community, because everybody had a skill.
So what was your skill?
Well, I was a teacher. I started out teaching, and then from teaching I went into counseling. I counseled for over 20 years, and then a counseling supervisor for 3 years before I retired. So I was an educator for 33 years.
Here was in Croix?
St. Croix, St. Thomas.
Oh, okay.
And St. Thomas.
That's good, very good.
How is teaching? Is teaching an easy job?
It has never been easy, but I think it's more difficult now, because you have,
You have to like it.
yeah, you have to love it, and you have to realize that the students that we have now, they're not getting the kind of support we had. You know, sometimes it's like, hurry and get out, so I have to get to work. but that nurturing and teaching and the relationship is so absent today.
Was money an issue when you were teaching? Like, was that like on the
No,
forefront?
because another thing, every summer my mom required us to get a summer job.
Okay.
After school closed, she would say, listen, come on, get up early, get your clothes on, and you're looking for a job. We be leaving the house. He said, where you going? Where you going? But we were able to get summer jobs, and that money we shared with her. And so when I started to work, it was, wow, I'm really getting a check with so much money, so we learned to save.
That's good.
What would you say to the teachers we have now? What advice would you give them?
Well, the thing that you must love teaching and you must love students.
And I tell you, the kids know if you like teaching, and
Yes,
they're going to
do.
feel it. They're going to
Yeah.
feel it. And let me tell you, it is teaching me or helping me to learn.
And just the other day, one of the functions we had for Class of 69 reunion was at Cast Iron Pot. And the student, Burton Peterson, said. Anyhow, he came out and he said, you mean you were here and you didn't stop? He said, because of you, I changed. And he said, I didn't just change overnight, but I changed. And I said, well, I'm so glad that process took place. And I touched his life in positive ways.
Like the one teacher that I always remember, and I did honor her over the phone at my show, is her name was Olive. She was Smith. Walcott, but she was Smith when she first started, then Tricoci, and then she's Walcott now. I would never forget that lady. She made an impact in my life. I interviewed several other teachers that impacted me, but she was number
I
one.
have to tell her we're very good friends.
Yeah,
And
because
she lives
she's
in
in
Georgia.
Yes, because I interviewed
her.
her on the phone, Mario Golden, and he's in Atlanta too, and I interviewed him by phone because he was my junior high math teacher. And Miss Ross, Cheryl, was my teacher English teacher in Central. I also honor her. So it have a lot of good teachers, but they had a teacher that almost ruined my life. Let me tell you, she hated kids, and she showed it to me.
Yes.
So Miss Tricoci, she pulled me away from that class and took me in her class. That's how I was able to graduate.
And that's a big difference,
Yes.
Your heart must be into it.
Yeah, you gotta love what you're doing.
Right.
Was there a bad student in your class and you had to?
Yeah, of course, the first year, and when you think of it, I went back to teach at 21, and if you were 17, 18, and you weren't that much, younger, but one day, you're smelling smoke. I said, my goodness, these students, somebody's smoking in the back. So I said, listen, I'm going to just step out for a minute, and when I come back, you're going to tell me what's going on. So I just step out saying, now what am I going to do? So they didn't know if I step out to call a principal or whatever, but when I went back in, I said, okay, now I know everybody doesn't want to have suspension, so somebody's going to come and tell me what was going on. And they did.
And they did.
Yeah.
But you see, you give them that chance. But it's really nice to have you here. I wish we could have had you a little longer, because I'm going to tell you, this book is a must read. I'm not endorsing it to help her make money, but I'm endorsing it as a way of people could read and see how a family of 10 came out so successful. When you got parents that have one child and balling, come on now, I had 3 and I were balling. So, and her mother did it with 10.
Yes.
So if they could do it with 10, we could do it with 1, 2, and 3. And
Where could you get it?
it's
I have
still
copies.
you still have copies?
Yes.
It's not at the
And
bookstore anymore?
It's also on Amazon.
Amazon. Okay. So say we're in
Amazon.com, you could go and look for either my name, Dr. Sandra O. Harrigan, or
Hear
Remembering
it,
Family.
Doctor.
Well, that's how
A
it'll be.
doctorate? Doctor.
That's how it'll be if you Google it or you search for it on Amazon, and it's available for $19.99.
And again, this is one of our own, even though she's an Atlanta homegrown. Again, and I want to thank you all for watching. I wish I could have gone some more, but again, it was a pleasure having you, and thanks to my 2 co-hosts.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Uplifting.
I hope you enjoy our show. Tune in next week for another episode.